The story of Juneteenth and the story of Black Americans is an American story.
Juneteenth is the newest federal holiday to join the calendar since Martin Luther King Day was first acknowledged in 1983. And like every American holiday, food is involved. Joi Chevalier is CEO of Nook in Austin. As a native Texan, she's recognized Juneteenth her entire life.
We grew up acknowledging the day, whether it was in service or whether it was marking with dinner or some sort of family group activity.
Owing to roots in the Black American diaspora, Juneteenth foods are typically mobile.
The foods that you end up having at Juneteenth or around Juneteenth and in the Black community are still remnants of that food that has to travel. It's food that has to last.
Open up a family picnic basket on June 19th and you'd be likely to find
prepared chicken, or you get something like macaroni and cheese because it doesn't go bad very quickly, right? It's cooked and everything's cooked in it, right? And so you can take that in different forms with you. Things like pound cake, especially down here, easy to travel, easy to wrap. Or you would get sandwiches. There was very traditional sandwiches, cheese, pickles, things that can, again, move and survive being in motion.
Even red drinks like hibiscus or sorrel tea have deeper meaning on Juneteenth.
Very symbolic of blood that's been spilled. It's a representation of all of those who've come before and what they lost or what was sacrificed.
You've mentioned chicken, pound cake, all of these delicious foods.
Right.
I haven't heard a thing about a vegetable.
Oh, sorry.
Would people eat during Juneteenth? You know, we're healthy these days. We got to know.
I know, we're healthy these days. I mean, when you go to celebrate or acknowledge anything, you know, vegetables is not the first thing you think of. There's going to be greens, whether that's collard greens at this time of year. And they actually travel really well, especially if they're vinegared, right? Which you do use in a lot of collard green dishes in order to remove a little bit of the bitterness.
Often food traditions are passed down through generations. Mm-hmm. And there are generations of people alive today who weren't taught how to make fried chicken or pound cake or collard greens from a mother or a grandmother or someone, some ancestor. So what do you say to those people who want to take part in Juneteenth and all of the culinary traditions that come with it? Where do they go to get some of this?
You know, there's so much opportunity to learn how to make these things, and you'd be surprised at how simple they are. You may go back to your own family and ask questions. Ask about, did our family ever do these things? Are there particular foods that we always cook that you learned mom or grandmothers, aunts, uncles, who are also great, you know, preservers of tradition, and ask, and then take that food and make it yours and just repeat it.
Chevalier says Juneteenth park celebrations were not just about food and fun. In the early days, they offered the possibility of family reunions for Black families that had been ripped apart by the atrocities of slavery.
Little notices would say that they were in the park and who they were related to, and people would find lost family members in that way as well. So being in those public spaces had a dual role.
This day that was primarily celebrated by African Americans has now been opened up to Americans in general. What would you say to people who are not of Black or African American heritage who still want to participate and still want to do it in a respectful way?
Even if they don't have friends who experience Juneteenth directly, you know, there's so many celebrations that are now local that you can go and participate in. I mean, parades, park events, things at the local libraries. It's no different than understanding the history, I think, of the Liberty Bell, you know, as artifact, or the Constitution as artifact, and how we store and we keep and we memorialize those events and activities. And I would encourage Americans to know that. Change delayed sometimes is what happens here, but it eventually comes. And I think that's the beauty of the story of America, that change does happen.
For Inside Edition Digital, I'm TC Newman.